What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. Good morning, Mr. Ray. Morning, dudes. What's going on, brother?
Good morning, Wes. I'm feeling slim and trim this morning.
Yeah, dude. Let's talk about it. Hot
well, I
sauce really
saw
did it
that.
for you, huh?
Oh man, that sustained me all weekend. And in fact, I think I might have to just go do a little taste again today because it really works. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, that the sense memory, the muscle memory, is real.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, we got to find out if the bomb is hotter than your thing.
Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Wes, you couldn't handle like the wind passing an open bottle of Carolina Reaper, man.
Really?
Oh, dude, it's killer. I sent you I sent you that scale, the Scoville scale. Like, I don't know what the active ingredient is in the bomb, but I think that Carolina Reaper is just below US like grade pepper spray, if I remember correctly.
No. Okay. So that's what we have to look at. So Carolina Reaper. So for instance, I have seen ghost pepper hot sauce before.
Yes.
And it is not ghost pepper hot. If like I've tried it.
I got you.
So the scale that you sent me, definitely like Carolina Reaper is up there. It's just depending on like how much they put in, etc.
Not all Carolina Reaper hot sauces are created equal.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I tried to look up the Scoville units of this hot sauce that you have. I couldn't find it, which is, as they say now, which is sus to me.
Problematic.
A little sus.
Okay. Well, I mean, the scoreboard doesn't lie, Wes. This must be the first time that I'm like, it looks like you weighed in at 173 and I'm at 178.4. I'm almost within 5 pounds of you, man. This is like unprecedented.
Yeah.
And where did you start the year, if you recall correctly, like approximately?
Let me see.
Because I know I was at 192. So to be, which is like 19 pounds heavier than you are now, and to be within five and change is, you know.
Oh yeah. No, you're killing it, bud.
Yeah, man. It's like I would be worried.
Yeah.
I might be an unstoppable force. I mean,
I've got $2,000 on the line right now. So I started out at one. Oh, sorry, bear with me. I started out at 166. So I'm up for the year.
Mm-hmm. And what is your goal weight for this challenge? 163, is that correct?
Yep, 163.
Okay. So
I'm 10 pounds away.
And then at my gym, the trainer said he'll do a caliper measurement for my body fat.
Cool. Yeah, hell yeah.
And then I guess we'll do it again on September 10th to see what the difference is.
Okay, let's do it. If you pass me, I'll give you $5,000.
No, if I'm lower weight than you?
Yeah.
Well, oh God, Wes, why?
You could do it.
Yeah, I know I can. I mean,
$5,000. You'll have to fast because I will now be fasting since I said that.
Dude. Yeah. You're insane. You're a dude. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
Dude, I swear, man.
I don't know. Is that diuretic tea? Like, are there some rules in terms of like performance enhancing?
Yeah. No, I will do nothing extreme. I mean, I don't think fasting is extreme personally, but like I will do nothing.
I'm taking the bet, Lucas. I'm taking the bet. I just feel sorry for Wes. Like, it's just in terms of his financial planning for the.
So first one.
Oh my God.
If you pass me, then you get $5,000.
Like if I weigh less than you at any point in the before September 10th.
Yeah. Well, and my out will be if I hit 163. Like
that's your like hit the buzzer moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Gunther, I'm gonna amputate half my body. I'm gonna show up in this. Anyhow. Okay. I mean, I take the bet. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I mean, and it's more so a gift for me. I swear, man. Like the more leverage you can put against yourself. And now here's the thing. You have to put enough leverage against yourself and mean it. Like a lot of people will
skin in the game.
Exactly. And then they'll say, oh, I bet this or I do this. And then they don't pay up. And that's you start to degrade your word. That's like a whole separate meeting. Whatchamacallit? What was it? Damn it, what's that? That seminar that I always talk about.
Landmark,
yeah. So Landmark, one of the key things they had there, which I thought was really profound, is like your relationship to your word. How strong is your relationship to your word? So what degree of correlation do your actions fit to your to what you say? And I really like that idea. So, if I'm sitting out here making these bets and then I don't pay up, it's like, well, then that means nothing. Then you lose the entire origin of why you're doing it, which is leverage against your bad behavior.
Right. That's like, it's the fight against self, right? It's like the self-mastery. You're losing the self-mastery, which is the whole point.
Yeah. Which a good way of doing that. So what I've done in the past is I've sent money to people. So last time I did this, I sent $2,500 to a buddy and I said, don't send it back to me until I reach a certain weight. So that's a way of taking it out of your hands. So like what another buddy's doing with me right now for him is he is going to send me pictures that he would be heavily embarrassed about if I post them. It's like, so that it's going to be in my hands, if that makes sense. So that would be another example. Like get the leverage out of your hands as simple as quickly as possible to when you're most motivated, and then give that leverage to a friend or an enemy who will do something with it if you don't hit the mark.
You are a psychopath. You are a complete psychopath.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, I think that's what it takes, man. Like
it will to win this challenge.
Yeah.
It will, absolutely. I'm gonna have to be eating celery juice for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, okay, so you know what? This is a good way to lead into our topic, growth in spirituality, which is one of the shortest chapters in the book, but I read it a couple of times, and it can really go in a bunch of different directions, because growth is, maybe we should define it or maybe we should have a discussion about how we define growth, because in terms of this chapter, he talks about a couple, Jake and Erica, who started dating when they were in their teens. And he was a wild guy, drinking, getting into trouble with the law, smoking pot, and then evolved out of that behavior. Right. And so she fell in love with the impulsive, living in the present, living in the moment guy, but also, I mean, that was just kind of a cover for his insecurity, right?
Yep.
She also loved the person that she knew was underneath that, right? And so with growth, what they mean by growth is that the real person kind of coming to the fore.
Yep.
And I feel like growth, like the path of progress, is another term for growth.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
You want to riff on that?
Yeah, 100%. And also to see what ASB said in the comments. ASB, hope you don't mind me reading this, but he said, my relationship with my word is not strong. I winched on a commitment to a hip hop performance this weekend, leaving my team and instructors with only 12 hours notice to redo formations. So I'll weave that in because I think it's a super important topic. So being on the path of progress and growth, et cetera, it's like, that's one of number one prerequisites for my partner. Actually, if you guys have seen my pyramid for needs, right at the center of the pyramid is a growth mindset. So I've got a baseline, and I've got all the way up to the top of the hierarchy. Then I have in the center, like that center stone, is growth mindset. I personally believe, and would not be surprised if this is true, that should be one of, if not the number one things for whether or not a relationship should continue. Because even if that, like, just compounding, right? Like, you can take a finance rule from this. If somebody grows at 7% per year, then they are an entirely different person. They are 100% different 10 years from now. It's just the rule of 72. Or if they grow at 10% per year, which, if you think about it, for human growth is not much, then they will be literally an entirely different person 7.2 years from now. Like, if you just take a mathematical approach to it. So a lot of the problems that we have with our partners or just friends, etc., like, if they have a growth mindset, they could literally get rid of all of those problems, become an entirely different human being. And you can if you both combine forces to that, just imagine what you could become. But I think what happens is, if you're not on the same page with that growth mindset with your partner, then you end up going like on in perpetuity, just in like this raw purgatory. And that is what I think is the most unacceptable.
Yeah. That raw purgatory, that kind of like that static state, that like state of, it's like a state of decay, right? It's like it's like a vegetable in the fridge that's just like rotting if you just stay in the same place and don't grow as a couple.
Have you ever seen a family, and like a lot of my family was this way growing up. I thought this was how you're supposed to live, where you just went to work and then you came home, you drank some alcohol, and you watched TV, like literally for 5 hours. And I don't know about in Canada, Ray, but in America, I would imagine that is the rule, not the exception.
Wes, like, I aspire.
You guys have TVs in Canada?
I aspired to have that kind of Norman Rockwell life.
Yeah.
Like, that was that's a happy home, what you just described.
Yeah.
By most people's definition.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I do not understand that. I like how much growth can there be? And then you just extrapolate that year after year, decade after decade. And this is why, in my opinion, you cannot have it's hard to have a quality conversation with a lot of people like that. Like, what are they going to talk about? Unless it's the TV show of the week or of the month. But just imagine what could happen if you replace that time with your partner with going to dance classes, with reading books together, with going out to nice restaurants, with whatever that is. It doesn't matter what it is.
And in this chapter, they call those rituals.
Yep.
Right. Now, TV can be one of those rituals. Right. But if, like, I don't think John and Julie Gottman would call the kind of family life you're talking about as a ritual.
Right.
Right. It's more of like passive. It's more of like a placeholder for meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the least common denominator, right? It's the lowest default way of being. Like, just it distract me for 5 hours so that way I can do the next thing.
Distraction. Absolutely. Distraction. And so with ASB's remark about, canceling on his hip hop performance group last minute and his relationship with his word, I think of growth like, and maybe you can help me come up with the words for this, but like growth, and like improving your behavior. So maybe like we can think of growth as your vision board, your goal list, your set of values as the North Star, and the distance between where you are today and getting to that is the growth that needs to take place. Right.
Yep.
So for ASB's example of your word, we could even like, bundle that together with like your behavior.
Yes.
Right. So like growth in your behavior. So we can talk about sobriety, health, healthy eating, healthy habits, and fitness. Right. Like, sobriety, actually, like, to be fair to my parents, my dad quit drinking about 15 or 20 years ago. And so like that was definitely a kind of personal growth. But eating well for longevity, adding fitness for mobility and strength and longevity and quality of life are two examples of two things that weren't priorities in my house growing up, and weren't really added to the mix. So talk about growth in terms of your behavior and the delta between you and your goals.
Oh yeah. Well, to tie it back into what ASB was saying, Ray, I completely agree with you. It's like you're living your current human, and then you are thinking your future human, which should be a higher version of human than you are today. Well, I think the bridge between that is first and foremost thought, but I think the more concrete brick and mortar is your word, and that's your word to yourself and to others. And that's where I think it's so important. If you lack a relationship or a strong relationship with that word, then it's almost like you lack a relationship with that future self, because that, in my opinion, is the first concrete step. First is more of like the spiritual step of like the mentality. Okay, I'm thinking about this. This is my vision. But then once I speak it out loud to myself, and I speak it out loud, or even if I write it down, right, that is the first step. But if you do that and then don't take the action, and of course, you're not going to be perfect, right? It's going to be a ratio like anything else. But if that ratio of success is not above a certain percentage, then you start to weaken the very concrete thing that is pointing in the direction of you being the next human. And to ASB's point, I actually think ASB, my hunch would be that ASB does actually have a very strong relationship to his word.
Absolutely.
He just has a higher standard than most people, which I think is phenomenal. Hey, dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode. So he's saying that he unfortunately had to cancel this dance, his dance performance, and then he wrote 4 separate apologies to the 3 instructors on the team. So I would actually argue that ASB does have a strong relationship to his word. It's just every once in a while you can't make your commitments. But I also think that's important for a lot of the guys who are listening to us on this team. Like, once you're up to a lot of stuff, balls are going to drop. And I love this concept of life is about, for an ambitious person, life is about figuring out which balls are glass and which balls are rubber. So which balls can you drop temporarily and that you know they're going to bounce back? I do think there are ways of living in the world as an ambitious person where you can level set with the people around you. So for instance, right, like ASB, I know is up to a lot of stuff, right? He's got many different interests, which I think is phenomenal. I think that's what a human is. We should have many different interests. Then when you start interacting with several groups, obviously some of those are going to start to clash to one another. So some of the language that I've used in the past, whether it be dance instructors or physical, therapists or whatever, is like, hey, I don't know if you've ever met anybody like me. I'm definitely on the crazier side. I've got a lot of things going on, and that's not to brag. It's just to let you know that like this for me represents 5% of my schedule. So there's a good chance that I'm only going to be able to make 3 out of 5 events with this team. Is that okay? Like having the upfront sales contract immediately. Is that okay? This is going to be my level of performance and commitment to this group. It's not going to be 100%. Are you okay with that? So I think you can level set the level of commitment without breaking your word. I think it's bringing accuracy to the conversation to yourself and to others. Does that make sense?
Yeah, predictability. And I love that quote. I'll say it again. For the ambitious person, you said something like, it's important to figure out which balls are glass and which balls are rubber, i.e. which ones you can drop and which ones you can't.
Yep.
And that's just like discerning your priorities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And which relationships, like this is the great thing about being a guy, right? Like if you and I have dinner plans and I am authentic with you and say, hey man, dude, I'm so sorry. I goofed and I scheduled 2 things. And this one is over here with my mom. I'm not going to be able to make dinner tonight. I'm going to guess that our relationship is a rubber ball. Like men can very easily be like, all right, dude, whatever. Like, cool. As long as you don't do it 100 times to me, then I'm good. Right. So you are a rubber ball versus if I do that with a girlfriend, right, or something, might not be a rubber ball.
A very obvious example, your computer is repaired and ready to be picked up. You can say to the computer store, you're coming in to pick it up and not honor that commitment. If you have to pick up your daughter or son from camp, that's a glass ball. That's a ball you got to pick. That's one you do not drop.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so, and growth is part. I guess growth is part of learning that,
Oh, absolutely.
right? To be able to accomplish the best quality um, responsibilities,
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
of as much of the time as possible, as often
Exactly.
as
And
possible.
that's how I think that ties into this conversation is that this particular piece is a part of the code of conduct, which
Mm-hmm.
is a part of like life philosophy, which is a part of like life growth, spirituality, etc. What is our code of conduct? What is our way of being together? And then going lockstep with your partner and figuring that out. And in my personal opinion, documenting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is how psychotic I'm getting. I told you I'm creating a family Bible, and eventually when
Mm-hmm.
I like my partner and I will be creating like this is our code of conduct for the family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we give our word to each other, and I'm even going to suggest like an actual, you know,
A blood pact, like
yeah. So like, hey, it becomes a true word when it's on the schedule,
mm-hmm.
something like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, because just casually through life, we always make these casual commitments. Oh yeah, we should do that, or oh, I'll do that, and we don't really mean it. And I think that's okay, but I think there should be certain language that states, no, like, okay, you need this by when, how many times by when. Okay, you need me to go to the counselor 3 times by when, like, and I'm going to put this on the calendar. And what I've done literally in the past is like send each other calendar invites. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
have a hard expectation, if I'm going to be scorecarded on this at the end of the month, like it deserves to be in the calendar.
Yeah,
I think
so,
a lot of couples will benefit from that.
Yeah, I'll give you one example and of like a commitment I'll make here, and then we'll get right into the text. But
Yeah.
a friend of mine, I was going to go with him to the Bill Burr performance here in Toronto tomorrow, and then, but based on the Friday chapter review of Adventures in Fun,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what, I really should. Maybe my time would be better spent if I brought Sarah to this Bill Burr concert, comedy performance. It's something I enjoy. It's kind of out of her wheelhouse, so it'll be something new for her that we're doing together. But it's also something that I like, so it'll be like, right? So it's like hitting all these different layers, and so I've got my buddy who I was originally going to go to he might have already forgotten, but I better cancel with him just to do the right thing. Cancel with him in a text saying what I just told you. It's more important that I spend this quality time with Sarah. We'll go to another show because I know Tim Dillon is coming in on September 30th. I don't know if you know who Tim Dillon is, but he's another.
I think I'm aware. Kind of
he's another outrage. Yeah. Another outrageous comic. So maybe I'll bring him.
Yeah, I don't know if this helps at all, but as a brother, what I would throw out is having an actual verbal conversation with him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just adds the texture, right? You can get the tone in. Hey, I'm so sorry, man. Like,
right.
This is weird, but blah blah blah.
Right. And so, if I can repeat what I've said a couple of times, is that you don't have to be in a relationship to get value and utility out of this book, right? Growth and spirituality. The chapter starts with amazing things happen in relationships when a couple can grow and change and accommodate the growth of the other person, for sure. But take out the couple factor. Amazing things happen inside a man when he can grow and change, right? I was reminded of the quote from 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. We deserve some respect. You deserve some respect. You are important to other people as much as to yourself. And then the key phrase, you have some vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. You are therefore morally obliged to take care of yourself. So you are destined for greatness. We don't know if that's on the international stage, national stage, affecting one person profoundly, or everything in between. But you can unlock this destiny through growth and change.
Yep. Love it. Great quote.
Yeah, powerful. He's speaking to the depressed incel, video gamer, perpetually unemployed, never getting a date, whoever, man out there.
Yep.
That you're important to other people as much as to yourself, and you have some vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. So get off your ass and kind of like, and honor that place that God has made for you, or the universe has made for you. So in terms of back to couples, the sum of the two people entering a relationship, the sum is greater than the parts, and relationships can be more than just two individuals coming together. They can be stories of transformation and great contribution and meaning in the world. So we're back to that that idea of meaning, which again has come up once in a while. However, remember chapter 2, which is conflict and managing conflict. There's no doubt that spiritual change or change of any kind can be a source of conflict in relationships, right? One person is committed to getting their health in order and eating well. The other isn't, right? And still likes to eat emotionally or for comfort, or just still likes junk food. Yep. That can be a source of conflict. One person starts to go back to church or starts to meditate. The other one doesn't. This can be a source of conflict. But remember that conflicts aren't bad if we navigate them correctly. Conflicts are the way that we grow, and we need to welcome conflict as a way of learning how to love each other better and how to understand this person who has a very different mind than our own. Yep. When we get to that understanding, we have both individual growth and relationship growth. So conflict is where the growth can take place.
Without a doubt.
Like when you're communicating what's important to you, and hearing what's important to them. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that if you set the relationship up in a hierarchy like we talked about, like you and your spouse, and then the third entity at the higher level, I think conflict in the name of that growth, of trying to get to that higher destination, is way better conflict than not having that third entity, that North Star vision, and just having conflict because you don't like how you make each other biologically feel. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like I think there's levels of conflict. There's higher quality conflict. And that's where I think if you have you, your spouse, and that third entity, and then participating in some sort of spiritual journey along the way, like philosophical evolvement, whether that be meditation like they talked in the book, or going to church, or going to whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but learning about being and creating yourself in the name of that higher level thing. Because I think going to church absent a goal is going to be not as valuable. Meditating absent a goal, I think, is not as valuable. So I think conflict also has levels of quality.
And are you saying that growth, like there's a necessarily spiritual component to personal growth?
So I put spiritual, philosophical, religious, I put all of that stuff in the same bucket. It's kind of like the fuel behind stuff. It's like the stuff behind the stuff. So I don't care if somebody's religious. I don't care if they're spiritual. I don't care if they meditate. I don't care if they're more philosophical. It's more of like the code of conduct, like the ways of thinking and being behind the action. That's what I put all that stuff in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I went to church this weekend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You know, I would agree 100% that there is a spiritual component to there. Like for me, and it's not my church practice, but it's like there is a spiritual self-reflecting on self that takes place when you try to go from where you are today to your goals and your vision board.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversations you have to have with yourself, being real with yourself, etc.
Oh, yeah, dude. I think what happens when we're being spiritual, at least the way that I interpret it, is you are trying to tap in and to understand universal patterns. Right, like we could look at karma as a spiritual thing, as a religious thing, or we could look at it as a universal pattern that tends to work out correctly. Like if I treat enough people well, that it'll eventually come back to me. Mm-hmm. If I treat enough people poorly, it'll eventually come back to me. But it's like we don't know that until you have enough life experience. And I think when having a North Star goal forces you through life experience, unlike watching TV 4 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Right? There's only so much life experience you're going to get through the osmosis of a flat screen TV to yourself versus going on actually riding the bike. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Watching somebody ride a bike or watching somebody on Instagram doing something is not the same thing as you going out and doing it. It forces a level of spiritual involvement and therefore evolvement. I don't know if that's a word, right? But
not at all.
evolving through it by involving yourself.
Right. You sounded like Jesse Jackson for a second there with the the evolving into the involving and the revolving is appalling. And but yeah. So like you said, like through the kind of the personal growth ladder can be viewed as where you are today, plus thoughts, plus action. That becomes experience. That becomes wisdom, ideally.
Oh yeah, exactly. And if you could do that intimately with somebody else, I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
You now get at least double the life experience. And the cool thing is, like, I went to church this weekend, and this guy Rick Warren, he's arguably one of the greatest pastors in history because of what he built. He went out into like almost like the desert out here in California and built this church called Saddleback Church. He's actually a famous like business case study. But he gave a great sermon this weekend, and it talked about, and this really hit home with me. He's like, if you're out there trying to become the best communicator, he says, let's say if you reach that pinnacle, but if it's not with the prerequisite of love, it means nothing, which I thought was phenomenal. Like anything that you say, it doesn't matter how slick your tongue is. If it is first not said through a filter of love, then you're wasting
hollow.
your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that was good. That was really good.
Right on. So back to the text. Yeah, absolutely. Like, or back to what you said a few sentences ago. Like, if you can grow and go through that thoughts, action, experience, wisdom with another person, you don't end up with just two better people. It's like there's an exponential, the combination has exponential benefits, right?
Without a doubt.
Like partly, and part of it's the love you were talking about. And part of it was like, yeah, the bond that you have with the person, because you can credit them with helping you stay accountable and having a partner and a team member and a teammate and a co-pilot through this journey of growth.
Oh yeah. Who's the guy who was it Lucas that you always reference on?
No, it's Ryan who says activity-based quality time.
Yeah. Ryan. Yeah. Activity-based quality. I mean, think about that. Think about how many different dimensions there are through life when you actually go out and act, not just observe. Yeah. I think that, Ryan was spot on when he said that. Activity, like, dude, you could even take your wife or your girlfriend out to, like, I don't know, go rock climbing, like we talked about last week.
I just thought of who was that? Patty mentioning rock climbing. I just wrote that down.
Yep.
Because that's such a perfect activity-based quality time.
Oh yeah.
Where you can stumble together and you can achieve and like celebrate each other's win.
Yeah, and you can, like, there's so many ways at which you can look through the lens of your own behavior. Like I would imagine that a lot of couples would go out, let's say, rock climbing, and there's an asymmetry in skill set. Let's say the guy is more skilled than the female. How he treats the female will give you a level of his spirituality and code of conduct. Is he berating her or is he encouraging her?
Right.
Right. And I guarantee it would be the same thing if it was rock climbing or if it was out doing something else. Yeah. It's like that's his spiritual growth where he's got to learn how to communicate better.
Dance, trivia night, doesn't matter what it is.
Yep.
And that weaves perfectly into the next section where there can be a conflict, right? Where one has more skill than the other, right? But the goal isn't to try and make the other person like you. The goal is to learn from them and benefit from the ways that you're different. Like you just said, like, how do you manage that difference? Do you gloat? Do you tease? Yep. Do you do a touchdown dance, or do you like help them? Or do you support? Life can be a struggle, and relationships can be a struggle. You create meaning when you meet each inevitable struggle in life together and move and grow through it in its adversity. So, like, yeah, that rock climbing scenario is an opportunity to create meaning with each other, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I love. Oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
The more shared meaning you can find or create in your relationship, the deeper, richer, and more rewarding your relationship will be. Go ahead.
Dude, how blessed are we that we're able to go and find the best speakers on the internet on any given topic, so that you can you can literally go out and research your own meaning for every single micro topic. So what comes up for me when you're saying this stuff, Ray, is like the Brene Brown talk on trust and vulnerability, all these types of things. You know, one of the things I like that she said was for the trust category, are you being generous with with the best version of the interpretation of that thing? And now this was for trust. So for instance, like your spouse doesn't show up, she shows up late, didn't call you. Is the automatic meaning that you're making, oh my gosh, she's cheating on me? Or is the automatic meaning you're making, oh my gosh, she may have broken down, right? Those are two very different meanings that you just created. Why can't we do the same thing when it comes to generosity of meaning for each other? Like, so for instance, we're rock climbing, I'm dating you, you suck at rock climbing and I'm clearly superior, right? Like, okay, how one meaning I could have is Ray just sucks. He sucks at everything. This is, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Or I could choose to have the other meaning of how cool is it that Ray's giving me the experience of him being vulnerable in front of me, knowing that he's not doing something well, and he's probably doing it for me, right? Like what an honor it is to share his company, like something like that.
You get to be the teacher, for example.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I only wish I had as much courage as he did in me being vulnerable at something I'm not as skilled at. Like there's a whole bunch of meanings you can give it that are incredibly grateful. But oftentimes, I'll speak for myself, oftentimes I don't choose that meaning because I'm a dick. Right? Like, so I've got to change that. But it's literally, we are meaning making machines. We can create whatever meaning we want.
And can you expand on what ASB said there about like how the guy in the hypothetical of rock climbing treats the girl if she's struggling with the rock climbing, and he says it is also a mirror of how the guy talks to himself. Oh,
dude, ASB, you're spot on as usual with this. Like this is literally my disease. So I have, and I don't say this as some sort of humble brag, right? Like I have such a high expectation of my own behavior that I will express that onto others who are intimately involved with me. So it's like it's this really weird pattern. Like acquaintances, I keep.
It's called being an asshole, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So acquaintances, like everybody knows me as like, you know, a really nice, like sweetheart guy that like rah, that kind of stuff. But then the people who get really close to me, I get super hard on, like really, really hard on. It's like, you know, hey, why would you do it that way? Why would you say that? Like, why didn't you go and do this thing? Come on, you're better than that. Like, just I've told people that I love, like, here's like, we're not even going to have words right now. All I'm going to say to you is do better. Like I've said
so the closer they get to you, you require more of the perfectionism that you hold yourself to.
Exactly. 100%. And again, that is not a humble brag. This is a very toxic way of being with other people. So what ASB is saying is I have done that. Like I'm actually bringing up the rock climbing example for a reason. So I've done that to people before, right? Like where we're going, like, especially like girlfriends in the past, we go out to like a thing that's supposed to be fun, but because I almost feel that she is part of me, she's representative of me out there in the world, like I critique it like I do myself. So ASB is spot on. It's a mirror on myself, not a reflection of them.
And thank you, Wes, for you know, being vulnerable enough to tell us about that. I'm sorry for joking around that you're an asshole.
No.
I look like the asshole. After 2 minutes, I look like the asshole for that misplaced joke. So I apologize for that.
Dude, well, that's I think the benefit of being a male, right? Like, we can make the journey comical enough so that we can drink the medicine. It's kind of like wrapping the medicine in sugar. But no, you're spot on. Like you're literally like my business partner, my intimate partner, like all of these people, my mother, my grandmother, not my grandmother, but my cousin. I have screamed at people. I don't ever raise my voice out there in the real world, but I have screamed at my intimate circle because I just don't think they're doing good enough, which is more of a reflection of me. I constantly don't think I'm doing good enough.
Which is the mirror of how you talk to yourself.
100%. Yeah.
So how do we create meaning? Right?
Yeah.
So we go from the desire for growth, the growth mindset, to conflict when we're growing at different intervals, or maybe we have different goals, to navigating that conflict correctly, to better understand the person and understand ourselves. And then the goal is to create meaning, right? More shared meaning you can find and create in your relationship, the deeper, richer, more rewarding your relationship will be. How do we create meaning? The authors suggest by creating and keeping rituals. more than just mindlessly watching TV for 4 hours a night, like we started the conversation with, right? We create this meaning. We do this by creating shared meaning and by creating our own rituals for connection. So watching that TV mindlessly 4 hours might be a ritual, but it's not a ritual for connection. The rituals you create in your lives together are important and will keep you connected. Examples. The most obvious example is date night, keeping a date night once a week or whatever interval. Can you think of a few other rituals? So not just taking her to the rock climbing gym once, but like more of a ritual is something you do on a scheduled interval, predictable interval.
Yeah, I think something as simple as making coffee or tea together every morning. I think meditating is a phenomenal ritual. I think walking is an incredible ritual. Really, I really do. But for me, again, to reiterate, I think it's so important to have a North Star goal and have the rituals be in the name of that result, if that makes sense. I just think human beings, I think Tony Robbins put it really well, happiness is progress. So it's like, if we don't have a North Star goal, there's nothing necessarily to make progress for. We're just kind of hovering around. But if we have a North Star goal, we can go towards that thing. And I think the rituals, if they're in the name of that and the spiritual growth is in the name of that, it's many times more beneficial than just a randomness.
Lucas was giving me heck last week when we had to cancel the pod on short notice. And he said
that's good.
You got to show up in a predictable way if you want this thing to grow. And it's funny that he was actually talking about growth as well. But
love it. That's phenomenal. Thank you, Lucas, for saying that.
Thank you, Lucas, for giving me heck. But because he said I could have just created a Zoom and just had a little chat with the gentleman, right? If you couldn't make it. So definitely room for improvement here, Wes, I guess, right? But what I wanted to say is...
That's a perfect example, though.
Yeah.
Right, like quite literally. Like
it's a ritual.
Exactly. And
it's related, and it's growth. I mean, it's everything we need for this conversation.
Yep. Exactly.
Right, go.
So, and Lucas, thank you for keeping us accountable to that. So now, like, for instance, now Ray and I will meet on the side and saying, hey, Ray, if I ever can't make it because, last week, and I do apologize, or 2 weeks ago, it was the biggest client and I could not get out of the meeting. But Ray
so glass balls and rubber balls.
Exactly.
Right.
100%. So Ray and I now need to have a meeting on the side saying, hey, Ray, if I ever can't make it, here's how you do the login for Crowdcast, et cetera. That forces us into a nook of life that we would have never gotten if we didn't have a North Star goal and if we didn't have a team keeping us accountable.
Learning the Crowdcast tech gets me out of my comfort zone. It's something I do not want to do. It's something I prefer that you do. I know, but like it's growth. I'm going to experience growth result. But and again, once again, like this book isn't just... You're not disqualified if you're not in a relationship, because think about what you and I do, Wes, with the gentleman here on Mondays and Fridays, with the shaman. Think about the scorecard. Like the scorecard is a ritual that I do with myself.
Yep. Right.
It creates meaning. There's little else that creates more meaning in my life than the scorecard. When I do my goal review, when I sleep, when I make sure I sleep well, when I check my weight, when I drink my water, when I do my goal room, my act of love, my learning, my journaling, my meditation and my movement, and plus the others that I add on, the practicing my craft, which is in the spirit of full transparency, one that I never, ever do.
We got to get you on that.
Yeah, man. But this is a ritual with self that creates meaning and creates growth. It's designed 100%. To create growth. It creates meaning. It also creates meaning with our relationship, you and me.
Yep.
It also creates meaning and a shared journey and growth with everyone else who's on this path of progress on this pod and in our group.
100%.
So this is an outstanding example of a ritual. Now you can't always get your spouse to come along with the scorecard, and so. A date night is the most obvious example that they mentioned in the book. Walks together, a coffee ritual together, or I was thinking eating dinner together as a couple or as a family every night. That is a ritual. Going to the gym together, like Sarah and I were doing and are doing less now because of her work. That is activity-based quality time. It's again, activity-based quality time. Watching your favorite show together, not mindlessly watching TV, but like appointment TV is what they used to call it, right? So there's this reality show, dating show called Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
Right. Which
Chicks
is
love that show, dude.
Yeah. And so I make an effort to watch this with her because it is we have ritualized it where it's something we can get excited about. There's other shows, Only Murders in the Building, which is with Steve Martin and Martin Short. Again, this is not something we mindlessly do. This is something we wait till we're together to watch together. So TV isn't like exclusive of rituals.
Oh yeah. Have you, what do you think about the idea of reading something together, and a lot of times that's a heavy lift for a lot of couples. Okay, we're driving to CVS or Whole Foods. Let's listen to a 5-minute positive message and talk about it.
I love it. With Thea, I've recommitted to reading again. Like she's got strep throat, she's at home. So what I've been doing is reading Harry Potter to her. My original plan was have me read a page, her read a page to make it more kind of pedagogical. But just the act of reading to her has created a ritual for me and Thea. Awesome. And I would love to figure out a way. You know what? The way to do it, Wes, would be to pick a book that Sarah likes.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is like a positive message. That's something that works for us. That's something that works in our scorecard, like the neat learning segment. But like, to be honest, like we might have to start with doing a book that Sarah likes, which wouldn't be so out of my league really, in terms of like, it would be some kind of self-help book, which works for me. It just may not be my first choice. Dress like a woman, but think like a man by Steve Harvey, and narrated by the author. Like that would, I might have to wait till the second time around to do that.
Yeah. Well, how about watching videos? I feel like Brene Brown just has killer, like 5-minute videos that I think a lot of females appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, TED Talks in general, like there's one about the personal brand. I'm not sure if we ever watched it together with a guy like this Asian guy who's only been in the States a couple of years, called Ty Tran, and his it's just a 10-minute personal brand, why the personal brand is important, be authentic, embrace your flaws. Right. We watched that together. It hasn't risen to the level of ritual because we haven't done it in a kind of like we haven't prioritized it and made it a predictable thing.
Yep.
But yeah, absolutely. Videos would work. Again, it is, I think that might just be something that works for us with our scorecard. I might have to entice her to do this. I might have to be a book or a medium of her choosing.
Yeah, sure. But, yeah, absolutely.
It's because the goal is creating a ritual here, right? The goal isn't, I can learn from Brene Brown on my own time. The goal is creating a ritual. So it might have to be a new message. And again, you get the benefit of growth. You get the benefit of growth if you experience like the kind of author or type of book on tape, whatever, that your partner prefers.
Love it. So what is the summary? If the guys are walking away today, what's the summary of this chapter in our discussion today?
Well, let me read the speed dating chapter summary. The only constant in a relationship is change. The key is how each person in the relationship accommodates the growth of the other partner. Amazing things can happen in relationships when a couple can change and grow and accommodate the growth of the other person. And all that stuff applies to just the growth within self too, right?
Yep.
Relationships can be more than just two individuals coming together. They can be stories of transformation, a great contribution and meaning to the world, just like Jordan Peterson says about the journey we each take individually. When you create meaning out of the struggles or conflicts that you face together, you stay together. Research shows that if a couple holds their relationship as sacred rituals, they have a better relationship. When individuals grow, relationships grow. When individuals transform, relationships transform. Creating shared meaning and rituals of connection. Rituals of connection. Again, that's what distinguishes mindlessly watching TV from appointment TV.
Yep.
Rituals of creating shared meaning and rituals of connection are a way to make a spiritual practice in your relationship. So is there necessarily a spiritual component to growth? I think that answers the question. When you incorporate rituals of connection, it adds a spiritual practice into your relationship. So my parting words again are, you don't have to be in a relationship to experience these benefits. The scorecard is the journey of personal growth. If you're already doing the scorecard, maybe it should be easier to add these ritualized good behaviors to a relationship format, and create rituals of connection, also known as activity-based quality time.
Love it. Hell yeah. Dude, thank you. Dudes, thank you. ASB, thanks for all the comments. Gunther, Lucas,
Yes,
Dima, all you guys. Have a great week. And Ray, I'll circle back with you on the Crowdcast stuff so we can.
Yes, and Wes, check the balance of your checking account to make sure you've got at least $5,000 in there. Let's make you or your wallet a little lighter.
Let's do it, bro.
Okay. All right.
I'm in. All right,
Peace.
dudes. Later.